Welcome back, tech enthusiasts. Embark on a journey through the evolution of Samsung's groundbreaking flagship models. Galaxy S. The Galaxy S series debuted with sleek designs and vibrant Super AMOLED displays. It sparked a revolution in how we experience technology. It had round edges, which is something which we don't see in the flagship phones of today. It had a 4-inch display with 512 MB of RAM and a 1500 mAh battery. Galaxy Note. Simultaneously, the Galaxy Note series introduced with the S Pen, revolutionizing productivity and creativity. It combined power with precision. It had a larger 5.3-inch display with 1 GB of RAM, and it even had a better camera. The battery has increased to 2500 mAh. But it had to be told that all the Galaxy Note phones were one generation behind till the Note 5. Galaxy S2. With the Galaxy S2, Samsung unveiled dual-core processors for seamless multitasking. Meanwhile, the Galaxy Note 2 enhanced S Pen capabilities for even greater efficiency. It is a lot boxier than the first one. The phone had a 4.3-inch display with 1 GB of RAM. It also had a 1650 mAh battery. Galaxy Note 2. The Galaxy Note II's multitasking prowess complemented the Galaxy S II's processing power, elevating productivity to new heights. It surprisingly had round edges. It had a 5.5-inch display with 2 GB of RAM. It also had a 3100 mAh battery. Galaxy S3. The Galaxy S3 wowed with its Pebble-inspired design. It had a much bigger 4.8-inch display, but still with 1 GB of RAM. It had a 2100 mAh battery. Galaxy Note 3. As the Galaxy S4 embraced touchless gestures, the Galaxy Note 4 introduced a Quad HD display, raising the bar for visual brilliance. It had a Snapdragon 800 chip. It had a 5.7-inch display with 3 GB of RAM. The battery increased slightly to 3200 mAh. Galaxy S4. Galaxy S4's touchless gestures paved the way for intuitive interactions. Simultaneously, the Galaxy Note 4's enhanced camera captured moments in unprecedented clarity. It had a 5-inch display with 2 GB of RAM. It had 2600 mAh battery. It had a Exynos 5410 octa-chip. Galaxy Note 4. This phone returned to the squarer edges style. The screen size remained the same at 5.7-inch and also had 3 GB of RAM. The battery again increased slightly to 3220 mAh. Galaxy S5. Visuals. Galaxy S5's water-resistant feature. Galaxy S5's water resistance set new standards for durability. This phone got the Snapdragon 801 chip. It had a slightly larger 5.1-inch display with 2 GB of RAM. It had a 2800 mAh battery. Galaxy Note 5. The Samsung Galaxy Note 5 had a Exynos 7420 octa. This phone had a 5.7-inch display, but now with 4 GB of RAM. The battery was 3000 mAh. Galaxy S6. The Samsung Galaxy S6 also had a Exynos 7420 octa chip. The screen size remained the same at 5.1-inch, but it had 3 GB of RAM. It had a 2550 mAh battery. It also had wireless charging capabilities. But along with this, a more exciting S6 Edge was introduced. This phone also had a 5.1-inch curved display. Samsung used this to add the Edge panel. The Edge panel allowed us to quickly access our apps, different features and contacts. S6 Edge Plus was also introduced. This had a larger 5.7-inch curved display with 4 GB of RAM. It had a 3000 mAh battery. This specs meant that the S series was having less difference with the Note series. During all this time, the Note series was lacking a number, so Samsung decided to skip Note 6 and directly go to Note 7. Galaxy Note 7. The Galaxy Note 7's innovation deserves recognition, despite challenges. Galaxy S7's water resistance and powerful camera capabilities were also milestones. This phone even had an iris scanner. It had a 5.7-inch display with 4 GB of RAM. The battery was 3500 mAh. This phone with all its features turned to become a failure because of a flaw in its battery. This caused the phone to overheat and explode. Galaxy S7. Galaxy S7 had water and dust resistance. The phone again had the 5.1-inch display with 4GB of RAM. Samsung also introduced the S7 Edge like the S6 Edge. But the S7 Edge had a Snapdragon 820 chip. It had a 5.5-inch display with 4GB RAM. It had a 3600 mAh battery. Galaxy Note 8. Galaxy Note 8's dual camera setup and infinity display transformed creativity. It was the first Samsung phone with dual camera and capabilities to film at 240 fps at 720p. This the time when the bezel started to disappear. We can clearly see this as the screen size has jumped from 5.7 inch of the Note 7 to 6.3 inch in the Note 8. The Note 8 also had 6GB of RAM. Galaxy S8. The S8 had a 5.8-inch display with 4GB of RAM. S8 Plus was also introduced. It had 6.2-inch display with a 3500 mAh battery. Galaxy Note 9. Galaxy Note 9's enduring battery life complemented the Galaxy S9's variable aperture camera, a leap in mobile photography. It was capable of filming in 960 fps at 720p. The Note 9 had a massive battery of 4000 mAh. It is also a refinement of Note 8, like the fingerprint scanner placed a little lower. The stylus also got Bluetooth integration. Galaxy S9. Galaxy S9 had a 5.8-inch display with 4GB RAM. It had a 3000 mAh battery. S9 Plus was also introduced with 6.2-inch display and 3500 mAh battery. Galaxy Note 10. Galaxy S10's hole-punch display ushered in a new era. It had a triple camera setup. It had a 6.3-inch display with a 3500 mAh battery. 5G versions of the Note 10 Plus and Note 10 were also released. Galaxy S10. It had a 6.1-inch display with 3400 mAh battery. A 5G version of the S10 was also released. Galaxy Note 20. The Samsung Galaxy S20's camera capabilities set new standards for mobile photography. It had a 64-megapixels camera with 8K filming capabilities. It had a Super AMOLED Plus display. It had a 6.7-inch display with 8GB of RAM. It had a 4300 mAh battery. Samsung also released a Note 20 Ultra with a 6.9-inch display. It had a 4500 mAh battery with a 108 megapixels camera. 5G versions of these phones were also released. Galaxy S20. Galaxy S20's camera prowess was a testament to innovation. It had a 6.2-inch display with 8GB of RAM. It had a 4000 mAh battery. S20 Ultra was also released with a 6.9-inch display. It had a 5000 mAh battery with a 108 megapixels camera. Galaxy S21. Galaxy S21 embraces advanced features, paving the way for the future. It had a 6.2-inch display. It had a Exynos 2100 chip. It had 8GB of RAM and a 4000 mAh battery. S21 Ultra was also released with a 6.8-inch display and a 5000 mAh battery. During this time, Samsung stopped the Note versions of their phones and the Ultra phones got the S Pen. Samsung Galaxy S22 had a 6.1-inch with 8GB of RAM. It had a 3700 mAh battery and 50 megapixels camera. Samsung released the S22 Ultra now with the S Pen. It has squarer edges than the previous phones. It had a 6.8-inch display and a 5000 mAh battery. It had 108 megapixels camera. Samsung Galaxy S23 was released with Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chip. It had 6.1-inch display with 8GB of RAM. It had 50 megapixels camera with 3900 mAh battery. Samsung released the S23 Ultra with a 200 megapixels camera. It had better filming capabilities at 8K. The S23 Ultra retained the Note's S Pen. It is also made by Armor aluminum frame for better durability. It has 8 and 12 GB of RAM variants. It also has a 5000 mAh battery. And there you have it, from the Samsung Galaxy S to the S23 Ultra. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this.